What's up, guys? It's been a while since we did one of these. I have just been actually busy in general. I didn't have any submissions last week. Had to do like 24 hours of continuing education in, 6. And there was just various things that popped up in real life that just made it kind of impossible to do recording and remain sane. So, I didn't. And we're back at it. And we're actually right at the last chapters of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And they're very short, so I'm probably going to put them both together. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the journey as much as I have. This is one of my favorite stories. And I just realized I haven't discussed it as much as I thought I would. But I also wanted to do videos about philosophy and stuff. But I kind of feel like, even though I have my own opinions on some of them, I haven't invented any sort of philosophy, so all I'd really be doing is bringing my own interpretation to other philosophical ideas. And I don't know how much that would carry for entertainment or even, reflection. If it would definitely help, I think, if I was to get bigger as a YouTuber and try and spread some of that. It would have a bit more weight and a little bit more of an impact. But as it stands right now, it's kind of like there are people that do it way better than I do, so why would I do that? I don't know. But I mean, if we're going to go by that logic, then why do I do any of this? Because there's people that do everything better than me at this point. So, let's just get right into the book. The Return. Utnapishtim said, "Oh, great. How long has it been? I don't even remember voices. Do you guys remember what Utnapishtim's voice was? As for you, Gilgamesh, who will assemble the gods for your sake, so that you may find that life for which you are searching. But if you wish, come and put it to the test. Only prevail against sleep for 6 days and 7 nights." But while Gilgamesh sat there, resting on his haunches, a mist of sleep like soft wool teased from the fleece drifted over him, and Utnapishtim said to his wife, "Look at him now, the strong man who would have everlasting life. Even now the mists of sleep are drifting over him." His wife replied, "Touch the man and wake him, so that he may return to his own land in peace, going back through the gate in which he came." Utnapishtim said to his wife, "All men are deceivers. Even you he will attempt to deceive, therefore bake loaves of bread. Each day 1 loaf, and put it beside his head, and make a mark on the wall to number the days he has slept." So she baked loaves of bread, each day 1 loaf, and put it beside his head, and she marked on the wall all the days he slept. And there came a day when the first loaf was hard, the second loaf was like leather, and the third was soggy. The crust of the fourth had mold, the fifth was mildewed, the sixth was fresh, and the seventh was still on the embers. Then Utnapishtim touched him, and he woke. Gilgamesh said to Utnapishtim the faraway, "I hardly slept when you touched and roused me." But Utnapishtim said, "Count these loaves, and learn how many days you slept. For your first is hard, your second like leather, your third is soggy." Soggy's terrible. The crust of your fourth has mold, unless it's garlic bread. Soft garlic bread is an Achilles heel of mine. Your fifth is mildewed. Your sixth is fresh, and your seventh is still over the glowing embers when I touched and woke you. Gilgamesh said, "What shall I do, O Utnapishtim? Where shall I go? Already the thief and the knife has hold of my limbs. Death inhabits my room. Wherever my foot rests, there I find death." Then Utnapishtim spoke to Urshanabi the ferryman. "Woe to you, Urshanabi! Now and forever you have become more hateful to this harborage. It is not for you, nor for you are what? It is not for you, nor for you are the crossing of the sea. Go now, banished from this shore. But this man before you walked, bringing him here, whose body is covered with foulness, and the grace of whose limbs has been spoiled by wild skins, take him to the washing place. There he shall wash his hair clean of the snow in the water. He shall throw off his skins, and let the sea carry them away, and the beauty of his body will be shown. The fillet on his forehead shall be renewed, and he shall be given clothes to cover his nakedness, till he reaches his own city, and his journey is accomplished. These clothes will show no sign of age. They will wear like a new garment. So Ur-Shanabi took Gilgamesh and led him to the washing place. He washed his long hair as clean as snow in the water. He threw off his skins, which the sea carried away, and showed the beauty of his body. He renewed the fillet on his forehead, and to cover his nakedness he gave him clothes which would show no sign of age, but would wear like a new garment until he reached his own city, and his journey was accomplished. Then Gilgamesh and Ur-Shanabi launched the boat onto the water and boarded it, and they made ready to sail away. But the wife of Utnapishtim the faraway said to him, Gilgamesh came here wearied out. He is worn out. What will you give him to carry him back to his own country? So Utnapishtim spoke, and Gilgamesh took a pole and brought the boat back to the bank. Gilgamesh, you came here a man wearied out. You have worn yourself out. What shall I give you to carry you back to your own country? Gilgamesh, I shall reveal a secret thing. It is a mystery of the gods that I am telling you. There is a plant that grows under the water. It has a prickle like a thorn, like a rose. It will wound your hands, but if you succeed in taking it, then your hands will hold that which restores his lost youth to a man. When Gilgamesh heard this, he opened the sluices so that a sweet water current might carry him out to the deepest channel. He tied heavy stones to his feet, and they dragged him down to the waterbed. There he saw the plant growing, although it pricked him when he took it in his hands. Then he cut the heavy stones from his feet, and the sea carried him, and threw him to the shore. Gilgamesh said to the Ur-Shanabi the ferryman, Come here and see this marvelous plant. By its virtue a man may win back all his former strength. I will take it to Uruk of the strong walls. There I will give it to the old men to eat. Its name shall be, The Old Men Are Young Again. And at last I shall eat it myself, and have back all my lost youth. So Gilgamesh returned by the gate through which he had come. Gilgamesh and Ur-Shanabi went together. They traveled there 20 leagues, and they broke their fast. After 30 leagues they stopped for the night. Gilgamesh saw a well of cool water, and he bent down and bathed. But deep in the pool there was lying a serpent, and the serpent sensed the sweetness of the flower. It rose out of the water and snatched it away, and immediately it sloughed its skin and returned to the well. Then Gilgamesh sat down and wept. The tears ran down his face. He took the hand of Ur-Shanabi. O Ur-Shanabi, was it for this that I toiled with my hands? Is it for this I have wrung out my heart's blood? For myself I have gained nothing. Not I, but the beast of the earth has joy of it now. Already the stream has carried it 20 leagues back to the channels where I found it. I found a sign, and now I have lost it. Let us leave the boat on the bank and go. After 20 leagues they broke their fast. After 30 leagues they stopped for the night. In 3 days they had walked as much as a journey of a month and 15 days. When the journey was accomplished they arrived in Uruk, the strong-walled city. Gilgamesh spoke to Ur-Shanabi the ferryman. Ur-Shanabi, climb up on the wall of Uruk, inspect its foundation terrace, and examine well its brickwork. See if it is not burnt bricks. And did not 7 wise men lay these foundations? 1/3 of the whole is city, 1/3 is garden, 1/3 is field, and the precinct of the goddess Ishtar. These parts and the precinct are all Uruk. This too was the work of Gilgamesh, the king, who knew of the countries of the world. He was wise, saw mysteries, and knew secret things. He brought us a tale of the days before the flood. He went on a long journey, was weary, worn out with labor, and returning engraved on a stone the whole story. Chapter 7. The Death of Gilgamesh. The destiny was fulfilled, which the father of the gods, Enlil of the mountain, had decreed for Gilgamesh. In nether earth, the darkness will show him a light. A man of mankind, all that are known, none will leave a monument for generations to come to compare with his. The heroes, the wise men, like the new moon, have their waxing and waning. Men will say, who has ever ruled with might and power like him? As in a dark month, the month of shadows, so without him there is no light. O Gilgamesh, this was the meaning of your dream. You were given kingship. Such was your destiny. Everlasting life was not your destiny. Because of this, do not be sad at heart. Do not be grieved or oppressed. He has given you power to bind and to loose, to be the darkness and the light of mankind. He has given unexampled supremacy over the people, victory in battle from which no fugitive returns, in forays and assaults from which there is no going back. But do not abuse this power. Deal justly with your servants in the palace. Deal justly before the face of the sun. The king had laid himself down, and will not rise again. The Lord of Kalub will not rise again. He overcame evil, he will not come again. Though he was strong of arm, he will not rise again. He had wisdom and a comely face, he will not come again. He is gone into the mountain, he will not come again. On the bed of fate he lies, he will not rise again. From the couch of many colors he will not come again. The people of the city, great and small, are not silent, they lift up the lament. All men of flesh and blood lift up the lament. Fate has spoken. Like a fish. Is he still speaking, or am I narrating? Like a hooked fish he lies stretched on the bed. Like a gazelle that is caught in a noose. Inhuman Namtar is heavy upon him. Namtar has neither hand nor foot, that drinks no water and eats no meat. For Gilgamesh, son of Ninsun, they weighed out their offerings. His dear wife, his son, his concubine, his musicians, his gesture, and all of his household, his servants, his stewards, all who lived in the palace weighed out their offerings for Gilgamesh, the son of Ninsun, the heart of Uruk. They weighed out their offerings to Ereshkigal, the queen of death, and to all of the gods of the dead. To Namtar, who is fate, they weighed out their offering. Bread for Neti, the keeper of the gate. Bread for Nin-Gizida, the god of the serpent. The lord of the tree of life. For Dumuzi. Also the young shepherd for Enki and for Ninki. And for Andukuga. And for Nindukuga. For, these names are nuts. For Enmol and Ninmol, all the ancestor gods, forebears of Enlil. A feast of Shulpe, the god of feasting. For Samukan, god of the herds. For the mother of Ninhursag, and the gods of creation in the place of creation. For the host of heaven, priests and priestesses, weighed out the offering of the dead. Gilgamesh, the son of Ninsun, lies in the tomb. At the place of offerings he weighed the bread offering. At the place of libation he poured out the wine. In those days the Lord Gilgamesh departed, the son of Ninsun, the king, peerless, without equal among men, who did not neglect Enlil his master. O Gilgamesh, Lord of Kalub, great is thy praise. And that's it. And my eye is leaking like crazy. Why? Anyways, that is the end of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Oh my goodness. It's like I got something in it, except it doesn't burn. It just doesn't want to stop leaking. And I'm not crying. I'm not. Because it's only in one eye. So, I mean, it basically warns us about trying to extend your reach too far. You know? he was a king, and basically the gods were saying he should be happy as such, that he accomplished so much, and basically has no peer, even though he wishes to be immortal. I mean, we still talk about him to this day. So, even though I believe historically there's no proof of a New Rook or of a Gilgamesh besides the poem, um, so I don't know what credibility there is in that. But one of the things that I get the most out of this story is simply his greatness. Because one of the things I note quite often is that kings are almost never highly spoken of. They and for good reason. Historically they've been pretty much tyrannical, and even Gilgamesh has been tyrannical, but he's spoken of highly because, well, you got to figure if he has any bit of benevolence, and he seems to really care about his people, his city, his legacy, the gods. So you have any bit of benevolence like that, and you are looked upon better than, obviously the usual tyrant or dictator. But there is a working theory I have, because there's not many just simply good kings. They're because they have to make really stupid decisions. They have to make the tough decisions. You know, you'd love to say, let's have a king who can forgive everybody. But how do you enforce law when there are people out there that exist that will not stop their ways unless you make them? And how do you say they must be made to stop without being in some way, shape, or form not benevolent anymore? You could always try and spin it like, for the good of the people I have to make this decision, but ultimately it is a malevolent decision, especially if you have to put someone to death, if there's no other alternative. And how many times can a king go through trials where like, how many resources, how many risks do you have to continuously take to justify making someone not making justify enduring someone who keeps repeating offenses? And at what point do you draw that line? And historically, kings have all been different with that. But that's something I tease in my head a lot, is how can you have a really, truly benevolent king? And one of the ways I like to think of one is that it's not a proper monarchy. There isn't a bloodline. It's more of what I believe a plutocracy, when it is the intelligent to be most capable. Where basically, in that society, that environment, someone elevates someone else. And you typically see it in movies, like they don't want the leadership role. Generally helps being a leader. So the way I like to think of it, I've got a bunch of old quotes that are on my iPhone that I can't quote exactly right now, but it's basically to the effect of that a king should be a reflection of his kingdom, not the lord over it. The king would recognize that down to its foundations, the peasantry, the farmers, they're the very reason that, the kingdom exists, and the king is actually less important in that regard to the kingdom. All the king should be is the ears for the collective kingdom to try and make a collective decision. And in that regard, it's almost more of a democracy, except it comes down to one individual filtering all that out. And anyways, that's mostly a thought experiment that I like to have, because I do a lot of world building with D&D and the creation of my world, that I try and tease out different types. And I actually have a problem currently with my world setting, because I have too many benevolent kings, and I have to realize they are such a rarity. I need more evil kings, more neutral kings, more kings that are really out for themselves, because many were. So I have a lot of difficulty doing that, and mostly because I abhor it so much. I have a very strong rebellious nature. But I digress. We finished Gilgamesh. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I believe I want to move on to the Odyssey next. The longer of the books, but of the books that I picked up. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, say so down in the comments. If you have ideas for the next book, I would love to hear them. I know I just said I'm going with the Odyssey next, but like I have a lineup right now. You know, the Odyssey and Dracula. Those are open source books that I've got. But I'd love to hear what books you'd like to be read to you. They do have to be open source is the wrong term, but I think it can still apply. Public domain is what I mean. So basically the books are too old to be held under copyright, and that's how I can get away with reading them like this, because otherwise when they're protected by copyright, even though I am not monetized for these videos, because I don't have any rights to the material, I can't. It's like, now that I think about it, video games function that way too, but I think there's more of a legal stipulation with those that you know, when you buy a video game, you have partial rights to play it, versus when you buy a book, all you get is to read it. Can't reproduce it in any kind of way. I don't know. I need a lawyer, clearly. Not that I want to pay for one, but clearly something needs to tell me what I can and can't do. But anyways, for now, the safest bet is to just go with public domain. Thank you guys. Hope you have a good one. I will see you in the next video. Bye.